Hello everyone, and here we are with the final chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 271, and we open up with a lovely cover image of, well, it's not all the Jujutsu sorcerers, but it does seem to be most of them. I like how they've stuck Geto and Gojo together. They've got the main trio together, Hikari and Kirara together. Would have thought Shozo might have been closer to Yuji. You got Hana behind Megami. Glad that Nanami made the cut. I love that they put Maki and Yuki together. We've got Tiny Panda next to his creator. Forgot his name. Sorry about that, bud. But anyway, we move on to the first page. So this first page is a bit wordy, but it's basically they're kind of working out, what the deal is with this situation, how this is all in effect. Basically, Nobara's examined the girl in question and not detected any cursed energy on her, so they're saying it's a remote activation, but it's going to be tricky to sort of pin it down. So on this page, again, very wordy, but it starts off with Yuji and Nobara coming up with their ideas of how they could lure the perp out, and Megami basically shooting down the ideas because the guy would basically have to be an idiot to follow their suggestions, and by calling them an idiot, by calling the perp an idiot, he's indirectly calling them an idiot, and they kind of laugh at each other. There's the suggestion of taking her by car, but it's put as problematic because they have to kind of detect the perp by sight, while he seems to be tracking the girl's movements via his cursed technique. So they're at a big old disadvantage, but it's good to see them all being a bit goofy again. So Megami keeps shooting down these ideas, but they do come to the conclusion that the best course of action to address this is to move the girlfriend outside of the perp's cursed energy range, and then they'll be able to sort of nail down his location when the curse kind of reactivates again. So they come up with this plan to use a 40-floor building to do a pretend visit a friend sort of scheme, and with the idea that if they go to the top floor, they'll go outside the cursed technique range, and this does happen. The cursed technique goes, she sees her boyfriend as normal, which then spurs the trio into action. They know that the perp is near. And then Kugisaki, Nobara, whatever name I want to use, she sees the perp first, and I think humorously, the panel where she spots it and says, "I'm going in," her hair's already flipped up because she's jumped out of the building and she's using her hammer on the building to grind down the building, which just seems so extra, so like Nobara. So then moving on, Yuji joins in with the free-falling action, and they're like, "Oh, this is going to be an easy win," and of course, the guy activates the stupid face thing on Nobara and Yuji, and they look ridiculous, because of course they do. It's lovely to see Jujutsu Kaisen kind of finish off with its comedic values again. But as they're panicking over their appearances haven't changed. It's all a fake. Only one person sees the other person as abnormal, but they actually do look normal, really. But anyway, they're distracted by that. The perp thinks he's getting away, but then in comes Megami with his Great Wolf. I don't know, I forgot what it's called. I was always curious if he would have lost his shadow techniques after what happened with Sukuna, but he still has them, and he's still got the merged wolf, and that pins the perp, and he's captured. So they ask the girlfriend if she knows the guy, and she's like, "Nope, don't recognize him at all," which we're going to find at the next page for the truth here. the guy gets furious. He's like, I'm the one who bought you that bag that she's carrying. So basically, he is just a massive simp. After all this, he's just a simp. Turns out he got her that bag as a gift while she was working at a cabaret club. And Megami, he's like, oh, well, that bag cost a fortune. How could she forget? Then Yuji glances over to the guy in the car. It looks like he's going to give him a little pep talk, a little heart-to-heart, so he doesn't feel so down. But then we kind of jump scene real quick to a bit of a blast from the past. From what I conveyed it as, I believe this is the talk Yuji said he had with Gojo. So we get to finish off with a bit of Gojo and Yuji talk. He kind of talks that Satoru Gojo doesn't matter anymore, and that these future students are what matters, and that they'll grow up and surpass him one day. Yuji kind of like takes what he says to heart. It's like he talks about them forgetting him, but he's like, how could I forget you? And where is your confidence gone? But Gojo says, how naive of you. I've never been so sure of myself. I'm counting on you, Yuji. And I took that to mean that, it doesn't matter what happens to him. He believes Yuji will win, which is obviously very prophetic considering Yuji did win. It then goes back to the scene where he's talking to the guy getting taken away, and he's like, you know where you went wrong, so you can correct yourself, and then you should come and work with us. Now, personally, I can't think of what use people would have for a Jujutsu sorcerer whose ability is to just make someone see someone else with a goofy face. Like, God, you live in a world with Jujutsu sorcery and you get this sort of power. It's quite disappointing, really. Nobara then asks Yuji what about that one thing? I got rid of it, and they're talking about it's not dangerous anymore. I don't know what they're talking about. Are they talking about? I think they're talking about Sukuna's remaining finger, because they're saying it's not dangerous anymore. And then we get a shot of Yuji looking at his hand. So not really sure what that is. And there's a little shading on his fingers, and where they're missing. And did he not use reverse technique to regrow his fingers? I'm kind of confused at that one. Is that what it? Someone fill me in. Is that what it means? Are his fingers just gone now? I mean, he can just use reverse curse technique to just restore those, can't he? So we kind of finish off with a bit of a chat in the afterlife, I guess, between Sukuna and Mahito, who has been waiting for Sukuna. I'm a bit confused by how the conversation sort of goes. It's not very clear. He's also like, Sukuna, you got here first, huh? And then he's like, oh, you're here. Is this the third time we've talked? And I'm like, why is Sukuna there first? I mean, And then there's a speech bubble that looks like it's coming out of Sukuna, but it says, because my curse technique affects the soul, this is a kind of residue of that. This place is a passageway for the circulation of souls. So someone talking about their curse technique affecting the soul, that's a very Mahito thing. So I'm not really sure who's saying that. But Mahito wants to ask Sukuna something and says, was he lying, to himself and others about just living as befits your nature? So he thinks that Sukuna's whole purpose was actually revenge about everyone who scorned him as an abomination. And Sukuna kind of retorts that it's basically the same thing, and that's his nature. So that, so he was acting as befits his nature. His nature is just revenge. But then he sort of questions himself. He says, no, that's wrong. I could have chosen how to live. I had two chances. And we get a scene of two people. Now, I feel like a horrible Jujutsu Kaisen fan. I believe one is definitely Urame, and the other one I think is I forget her name, the girl who was obsessed with him that reincarnated in Megami's sister's body. So he sees them as the two chances he could have taken. He could have had a life with Megami's sister incarnated person, or he could have lived some sort of life with Arame. Not a romantic one, obviously, but, this was someone who was devoted to Sukuna, so they could have gone a different path. So next panel, well, little bit, it talks a bit in riddles. I feel like I'm stupid. I don't really understand what's being said here, but he says, "But I had to vomit out the curse writhing in my entrails. I was afraid of immolation by my own curse." So whatever he meant by that, but I guess he's saying he just had to continue his course of killing everyone? I don't know. And then you get... This is all getting very confusing for me. This next page where Orame's looking very somber. I think they're crying, but he's talking about if there's a next time, maybe I'll change how I live. He's talking about if he gets another chance at life, I suppose. So Mahito gets angry at this point. He's like, that's boring, you're gonna settle down. And Sukuna just can't, seemingly it looks very calm. He says, of course, after all I lost. And Mahito just has a final temper tantrum, but then I'm the only unruly child left, and a goofy picture of him just kind of jumping around complaining in true Mahito style. But we finish off Jujutsu Kaisen with everyone together, happy. So you got Maki, Yuta, Panda, voice guy, sorry I forgot his name, I feel horrible. You got Hikari and Kirara, and then you got the trio of Megami, Yuji and Nobara, and the last scene we see is of one of those shrines that has Sukuna's remaining finger. The end. And that's sad. Jujutsu Kaisen's over. I think I was quite late to the party with Jujutsu Kaisen, but I enjoyed it a lot. I've seen a lot of discourse about this final chapter, a lot of angry people. I don't get it myself. I think, it wasn't amazing. If I think about peak endings, I think of something like Full Metal Alchemist, but it's fine. It got a good conclusion, a satisfying conclusion. I know the Disney Kaisen accusations get thrown out a lot. I don't know what people expected. Did they want more death? I mean, I'd put the lack of death down to the good planning by the good guys. Very good utilization of the MVP Yui. I think they earned their victory. And disappointing things for me, I guess, is that curses continue, that Gojo doesn't really get a proper send off. We had a nice little scene with Megami grieving his sister, but nothing for Gojo, really. But overall, it's fine. I'm not jumping for joy for the ending, but I don't hate it either. But what do you guys think? Did you hate the ending? Do you love it? Do you it? I mean, it is what it is, right? I'll catch you next time then. Bye.